Cry of mothers continues to be heard across the country following more than 23 people who died during the protests, the demonstrations that were held on Tuesday and Thursday this week in the country. Well, that and much more we have lined up for you tonight. Let's take a look at stories making headlines. Death toll from demonstrations at least 23 as families of victims cry for justice. Azimio la Umoja threatens to take action against President William Ruto at the International Criminal Court following police brutality. President William Ruto signs appropriations bill into law at State House, Nairobi, following his withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024. Well, follow us live across our social media platforms, that is on EBN TV. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Let's get the show started. At least 23 people were killed, thousands injured, and property destroyed as anti-tax protests turned ugly when security forces moved in to quell them. According to the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, Nairobi witnessed the highest number of killings at 18. In Narok, the family mourns the death of their kin, a young man, Brian Kasaine, who was shot during the demos.
Mtoto tumekaa naye vizuri, ambaye dakika hii ametuachia mabarua zake mkononi. Tuko na huzuni kubwa sana 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 kama sisi wasasi. Kwa dakika hii tunaomba serikali iweze kutusaidia. Mahali tuko mahali babaya. Sisi hapa ni wapitaji. Tunaomba tu serikali iweze kuingilia kati. Na aliyefanya haya tunamwachia Mwenyezi Mungu.
Na alipata kushutiwa pale kwa barabara pale hapo kwa barabara kwa visitia hapo nje, aliweza kushutiwa na aliweza kufariki. Tuko na machungu sana kama sisi familia. Mimi ni aunti yake, mimi ndio nimekuwa nikimlea na ameweza kuaga akiwa kwa mikononi mwangu. Sisi hatuna hata pesa yoyote na hata tumesurpriseiwa kabisa kwa sababu tumeongojea huu mtoto kuanzia alitoka saa 10:30. By karibu 5 hivi tunasikia kuna watoto wameaga, lakini hatukujua ni huyu mtoto wetu. Tulijaribu kukimbia usiku muangalia ama polisi, hatukuweza kumpata. Sasa jana asubuhi ndio tumeweza kujua kwamba aliweza kushutiwa. Alikuwa mmoja mwenye alishutiwa pale kwa barabarani.
And indeed, what a painful thing it is to lose a loved one, especially burying a child. And we condole and empathize with the families. Now, the High Court on Friday, June 28th, issued a directive barring the National Police Service from using water cannons and tear gas against peaceful demonstrators. Police officers were ordered to halt using live ammunition, rubber bullets, crude weapons, and other draconian measures against those protesting against the Finance Bill. George Kayesi reports.
For the first time, the country experienced unique protests spearheaded by young people. This demonstration put significant pressure on the government to reject the controversial finance bill, which had sparked widespread public outcry. Many Kenyans believe that the bill will further burden taxpayers who are already grappling with the high cost of living. Police officers employed excessive force against the protesters, resulting in several deaths across the country. Outside Parliament building, protesters were shot as they attempted to enter the building, leading to hundreds of injuries and numerous arrests. In response to the violent crackdown, a High Court in Malindi has barred the National Police Service from using water cannons, tear gas, live ammunition, rubber bullets or any other crude weapons against protesters opposing the now withdrawn Finance Bill 2024 pending hearing of the petition. This decision follows a petition filed by Saitabo Kanchori. In response, Justice Mungure Thande also prohibited the use of brute force or any other form of violence against the protesters. Similarly, the court has issued an order preventing the police from engaging in extrajudicial killings, arrests, abduction, detention, harassment, intimidation, torture, or any form of cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment of individuals protesting against the controversial bill. In petition, Kanchori argues that the police resorted to arbitrary arrests and illegal abduction of protesters, as well as intimidation and harassment. He contests that these actions violate the protesters' right to liberty and the freedom from torture. He also asserts that Gen Z as young people are part of a vulnerable group that requires special protection under Articles 20 and 21 of the Kenyan Constitution. And as the saying goes, the wheel of justice turns slowly but grows exceedingly fine. The pressing question now is whether all perpetrators of police brutality, along with those who command them, will be held accountable for their actions. The court has set aside 17th of July 2024 for the mentioning of the case.
Now, thank you, Kayesi, for that report. Azimio la Umoja Coalition has threatened to seek the intervention of the International Criminal Court, ICC, over alleged atrocities committed against demonstrators, stating that police brutality has gone overboard and that culprits need to be brought to justice. Speaking on Friday after visiting victims of the chaos at the Kenyatta National Hospital, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka stated that the alleged actions by the police during the protests call for immediate action from the ICC. Kalonzo further challenged President William Ruto to speak out against the killings.
But in my view, as senior counsel, we're going to document every case, perhaps even revisit the International Criminal Court and this time talk to them about the atrocities committed against the Kenyan people by a regime which is heartless, which calls his own citizens traitors, they're committing treasonous, treasonous acts. And we are yet to be told who are the financiers of this very organic youth movement, organic in their thousands, and they just want to claim their country back. It's very, very saddening. We are very deeply saddened to witness what we have witnessed today. Young men in their early 20s na wazee wawili hivi walipatikana in the crossfire pande huko Ambassador near the archives, National Archives, mmoja kule, mwingine alipatikana karibu na GPO, obviously by a stray bullet, and it was very humorous. He told me that this was the first time he was participating in these demonstrations, and he was just watching to see what's going on, and then he was caught. So he said, first time unlucky.
The Law Society of Kenya President Faith Odhiambo has urged President William Ruto's administration to compensate Kenyans injured during the ongoing anti-government demonstrations nationwide. Addressing journalists outside the Kenyatta National Hospital, where she visited some of the victims on Friday, Odhiambo referenced recent utterances made by Ruto, where he indicated that the government would account for those injured, intimating that this implied compensation. She subsequently urged Kenyans to avail themselves in large numbers at the Kenyatta Hospital and donate blood for persons injured during the demonstrations.
They said the money they received from the disaster fund has been adequate to enable them to support the patients that we have, but we see the kind of skin burn injuries and the number of patients that are there, and so I'm sure the hospital will be welcoming any well-wishers who wish to support, because this is a public hospital and they'll continue to be receiving so many more patients. So I would say I'm not authoritatively speaking on their behalf, but I'm saying any donations, please support Kenyatta Hospital, because they have been serving this nation, they have been serving Kenyans well. Can we have them? This is a kind of service that is giving to Kenyans, that so that we cannot be able to identify the killer cops. We are not able to identify those who should be held accountable. Because when you fully mask up and you're wearing a hat and you're covering your face with a bandana, the aim is to be able to perpetrate violence and with total disregard. And this comes after the backdrop that the head of state gave a second presidential address saying that not in his tenure, not in his government, these things are not going to happen. And these are part of the reasons that the continued mistrust by the members of the public reigns high, because the head of state speaks with one side and yet his actions or the actions of his agencies say something else. We should be able to identify who are these police officers. We should be able to identify them by their rank and by their names, because they are properly uniformed. And further, the other policeman who shot at some of the journalists as they recorded the arrest of others, and I think people have been able to share his name and identity, will be taking legal action against that particular officer.
Now, Azimio has warned that the recent remarks by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on the National Intelligence Security boss Nordin Haji are a threat to national security. Minority leader in the National Assembly, Opiyo Wandayi, noted that what Gachagua said could expose the country to security issues. Wandayi said NIS is one of the three security organs under the Constitution. The others are the Kenya Defence Forces and the National Police Service. And if a high-ranking leader like the Deputy President comes out and informs the nation he has lost confidence in such a vital organ, then what are Kenyans supposed to do?
If you look at specifically what the Deputy President said, especially on the matter of the National Intelligence Service, it's an issue that exposes the country. It's an issue that has the potential of affecting national security. Why do I say so? You know, the National Intelligence Service is one of the three organs, the three security organs under the Constitution. The other two being the Kenya Defence Forces and the National Police Service. So if a person in a high position such as the Deputy President comes out and basically informs the nation that he has lost confidence in such a vital organ, then what are Kenyans supposed to do?
Now, a day after Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's explosive remarks demanding the National Intelligence Service Director Nordin Haji over the Tuesday chaos that saw protesters break into Parliament, the second in command has been sued in court. The petitioner and activist Frederick Bikeri says the remarks against Haji were untruthful, insightful, and unlawful, and do not meet the expected standards of a public officer under Article 73 and 75 of the Constitution, as well as the Leadership and Integrity Act. Through lawyer Danstan Omari, Bikeri argues that the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, has the responsibility to investigate the utterances by Gachagua.
In the utterances of the Deputy President, he alludes that the Director General, Nordin Haji, is the reason as to why the security apparatus failed to contain the type of demonstrations that resulted into the forceful occupation of Parliament. He alleges that Wan Nordin failed to give the President proper advice on how to contain that demonstration. In the Deputy President's allegations, the third one, he says that his source of information are senior police officers. I have filed a petition challenging the National Cohesion plus the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to investigate the Deputy President, one, on those utterances. The basis of my petition is that, one, the Director General of NIS does not report at all to the Deputy President. He reports strictly only to the President of the Republic of Kenya. Therefore, any form of information, any form of intelligence reports are only for the consumption of the President, not the Deputy President. The Deputy President sits at the National Security Council, where the Director General, Wan Nordin Haji, sits. This is a matter that was supposed to have been dealt with in that committee. The Deputy President has failed on that. The utterances of the Deputy President smack on defamation. Everybody is aware that Wan Nordin Haji was the Director of Public Prosecution at the time the Deputy President was arrested and was arraigned in court. The charge sheet was approved by Wan Nordin Haji. Two, the charges again were withdrawn when Wan Nordin Haji was still the Director of Public Prosecution.
Nominated Senator Crystal Asige has condemned the government over its alleged use of brute force in containing Gen Z protesters on Tuesday and Thursday, which left several youths dead. The youthful senator said the government had the opportunity to dialogue with the majority of those opposed to its tax policies, but failed to do so until blood was shed on the steps of Parliament. In a statement, Asige said the government has demonstrated through its handling of dissenting voices on the finance bill that it can no longer be trusted.
How can we go on a recess? Why are we going on a recess? We have just come from a 3-week recess period, Speaker. Why do we need 2 more weeks to reflect? This is a house of reflection, and we have to do it while we're sitting in these seats and when we're speaking in these microphones. That's what we're here to do. Parliament stands to represent its people. Parliament, Mr. Speaker, does not close to run away from its people. I want to urge and persuade those who have not spoken yet to also concur in opposing this motion, not because of disrespect, but because of respect for the young men and women who have lost lives, who are now muted because they cannot speak due to yesterday's horrifying scenes. We can't go home. Are we trying to say that renovations of windows and offices are more important than speaking for bloodshed and lives lost yesterday? We cannot, Mr. Speaker. And I, as a young person, as the first young person speaking to this motion, as a youth in this house, I am speaking for the youth who are outside of this house. We cannot go on a recess. It is wrong, and it would be completely insensitive to do so.
Now, President William Ruto has signed the Appropriations Bill of 2024 into law to allow for the continuity of government operations for the next financial year after the Finance Bill 2024 was withdrawn. In a statement to newsrooms on Friday, the President said the Appropriations Bill will be critical to ensure the running of critical government services in accordance with the law before the Treasury prepares a supplementary budget. The head of state explained that the Treasury will now be required to prepare a supplementary estimate which would reduce government expenditure by the amount of revenue that was expected to be generated by the rejected Finance Bill 2024. Now, Cabinet Secretary for Health, Susan Nakhumicha, has confirmed the registration of the Social Health Insurance Fund, SHIF, or SHIF, which will kick off on July 1st in a bid to phase out the defunct NHIF. The new health insurance scheme is under the universal health coverage under the Kenya Kwanza administration. CS Nakhumicha assured Kenyans, particularly those currently benefiting from NHIF services, that they will not be denied any services during the transition phase. The CS said that all facilities are urged to continue providing services with all claims to be verified and settled as usual.
Analysis shows, among others, that the NHIF reliance on 20% of payroll Kenyans to finance healthcare for the whole country is setting the country to failure and leaves the poor and the vulnerable households to the mercies of gods. The current financing of NHIF is unsustainable, since it is impossible for the employed, the people on payroll, to contribute enough to cater even for the health needs of the 80% of non-payroll Kenyans. Such a system promotes inequality and disadvantages majority of the Kenyan household. It is against this backdrop that the Ministry of Health proposed a paradigm shift in the provision of social health insurance through Social Health Insurance Act of 2023 that repealed the National Health Insurance Act number 9 of 1998. The principal object of Social Health Insurance Act 2023 is to establish a legislative framework to regulate the provision of social health insurance, promote the implementation of universal health coverage, and to ensure that all Kenyans have access to affordable and comprehensive quality healthcare services. Withdrawal of the Finance Bill of 2024 that sought to finance the Primary Healthcare Fund and the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illness Fund and set aside funds for indigents, vulnerable persons, the ministry is now reworking to align to this reality. Therefore, the existing NHIF contributions and benefits will continue until we roll over to Social Health Authority. I want to give assurance to all Kenyans, and in particular, those who have been enjoying healthcare services under the National Health Insurance Fund, that they will not be denied any services during this rollout phase. And I want to call upon facilities to continue offering services to Kenyans and also to assure them that all claims will be verified and settled.
Veteran journalist Mutegi Njau has died. His family said Mutegi died peacefully on Thursday evening at around 7 p.m. Mutegi, whose illustrious media career spanned decades, worked at leading media houses, including Royal Media Services. He was a resident analyst on Citizen TV's Cheche Power Breakfast show. His journey in media began in 1979 with his passion blossoming from the days of Kenya's founding president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. The family described him as the cornerstone of the family and a cherished figure in the community. Indeed, quite the mentor he was to various media persons in the industry, and we do condole with the families and empathize as well. Now to other news making headlines. Bungoma goat farmers have reaped big after IFAD, through the Kenya Livestock Commercialization Project, distributed gala goats to farmers in order to increase goat meat production. Speaking at Mabanga ATC during the exercise, Bungoma CEC for Agriculture Herbert Kibunguchi urged beneficiaries to utilize the opportunity maximally so that they multiply the breed for other farmers to benefit, citing that being given a first priority is a rare opportunity. Project coordinator Rose Hisa said gala goats were chosen over other breeds because they are resistant to harsh weather conditions, and they're big and heavy as well as fast-growing variety.
Na ninaenda sasa kuvuka mbuzi na nitazizalisha ili wengine wafaidike kwangu, pia wapata hao watoto waende kuvuka mbuzi kama mimi tutaendelea kuungana pamoja na tuzalishe, tusambaze, ili wakulima wale wenye wako na bidii na wangeomba ama wapende kuweka mbuzi na waweke vilivyo, kwa sababu mbuzi maziwa yake ni dawa kivyake. Na
tunapoangalia ni mbuzi ambaye anaweza stahimili ukame, ni mbuzi ambaye kwa kimo ni mkubwa kiasi na ako na nyama, so ataweza kusaidia ku-upgrade hawa wetu wa kienyeji, especially hizo ndume ambazo zimekuja leo hii, na wale watazaliwa hapo tutapata wakike na wakiume ambao tena tutawatumia, especially wakike kuzalisha tena, tupate mbuzi ambao wako na weight ile mzuri ya kupata mapato mengi.
Well, all right, that is where we wrap our bulletin tonight. Thank you very much for watching. We hope that you're up to date with what is making headlines across the country. Have yourself a wonderful night and a wonderful weekend for that matter, because next time we meet, it will be the month of July. Well, God keep us safe. Thank you for watching. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Good night.